Time to reflect. Dick Cheney has passed away at the age of 84. It's not really important whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, but it's about the message. So, where did this whole Dick Cheney thing begin with me, your Pratt Pack? Long before I even knew who Dick Cheney was. So, here it is, President Jimmy Carter trying to get reelected, being challenged by the former governor of California, actor, communicator, Ronald Reagan. So I, a young man, always looking for a challenge, somehow, some way, during that election campaign, got 2 exclusive interviews with Ted Kennedy, and also got a chance to sit in the back of a vehicle from the airport to Coriopolis to get an exclusive at the age of 21 with Ronald Reagan. And what I remember the most when he was coming out of that plane and then over towards the vehicle, I couldn't believe that I was actually going to be sitting side by side, shoulder to shoulder, with a hero. Not because of what he had done in politics, but because of his time on the big screen. One of my dad's favorites, and my father, of course, loved him as a politician, my dad, a Republican. And I'll never forget, as I was walking back to the vehicle with my good friend Joe Hogan, we were both just in awe of the opportunity. I knew a couple of things. First off, Ronald Reagan was probably going to win the presidency, and my friend Joe Hogan would go on to do big things, and he now works for the incredible brand that is Invisalign. But for years I kept thinking, will I ever have that kind of opportunity again to meet a real patriot, somebody who just cares about America? And lo and behold, from that 21-year-old youngster with big dreams, always wanting to work no other place other than KDKA, that soundtrack of my life, just a few years later, I would be behind the microphone at KDKA, and then years later, when he, Mr. Cheney, was running with George W. Bush, a man that I have a lot of respect for as well, as I did his father, a man by the name of Karl Rove and I got acquainted. And I had an exclusive on KDKA radio with Dick Cheney. But this is how it normally works during the campaign season. Intricates, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, and they just do as many outlets in the world of media that is possible for one day. But a funny thing happened on the way to an interview with Karl Rove that went extremely well. So much so, when you could hear his handlers in the background saying, "We've got to go, Mr. Rove," he basically said, and it was heard by my audience, "I like this young man. I want to spend a few more minutes with him." So much so that shortly thereafter, he gave me an interview with Dick Cheney. And I know, as in every administration, ups and downs, and again, this has nothing to do with being a Democrat or a Republican, but what I believe all of us should be in our hearts when it comes to the most powerful free nation in the world. He loved politics, he loved the outdoors, he loved business, but he loved America. And in the middle of that interview, I got that gleam again, that feeling of I got one more opportunity to meet someone who would be remembered for generations simply because they made a difference. Well, another part of my life is going to change because of this headline today. And there were times in my life during all sorts of political engagements, like today, another election day, on the air at KDK Radio, I would often think, what would Dick Cheney say? What would he be thinking about right now? I can tell you one thing. We will look back at his life tonight, on this election night, as we give you comprehensive coverage of the vote. Why? Because Dick Cheney mattered. Dick Cheney is more than a paragraph. He's more than a chapter. He's maybe a book or a series of books about the history of this great country. Very tough, I know, exterior, but the man that I got to interview that one day so many decades ago truly loved America, and I could see through the radio a smile because he just knew how to make those sentences work. What a great communicator. What a true patriot. A wonderful husband and father. And a guy that gave me an opportunity many years ago that I will take with me the rest of my life. This story and everything trending right now, KDKA 100.1 FM AM 1020, and of course along with our colleagues at CBS Radio News. Dick Cheney has died, the former vice president, at the age of 84. We'll be back on the radio tonight after local news at 6. And don't forget, election coverage throughout the day up until the polls close and beyond. KDKA 100.1 FM AM 1020. It's your Pratt Pack from the home studio in Monaca.